last week bootcamp was so exciting. Quite a number of people showed up and we spent good 2 hours replicating this dashboard. All right, so this was actually the original dashboard and this is the one that we created. So as you can see, there's some little variation and that is very obvious. The accent bars are very thick, but here it's not so thick, and over here too is much bigger, but the column charts on the one that we created looks much smaller. So this clearly shows that we indeed created another version of it, and in today's video we're going to be creating a new one. All right, so this is going to be the 3rd time I am creating this dashboard, and I'm doing it just for the community, that you guys can see a video which is going to be a long form video, because we spent 2 hours, and that's the reason why we reserve the video making for the last, because that takes a lot of effort and time. All right, so we're going to be creating the same dashboard, but before we get into that, let me quickly introduce what SHEQXEL is all about. Right, so SHEQXEL is a management system consultancy firm that specializes in management system applications and solutions using Microsoft Excel and Power BI. And because the template can be very technical and things like that, we have a data academy that supports knowledge sharing, so you can understand Microsoft Excel and Power BI and all of that. We have a data community where we share free knowledge and we support the community with a lot of videos like this video that I'm making. We want to be living in the community. Again, we provide data visualization service where you can bring us your data set and we'll analyze it for you and give you the dashboard and an executive summary report from the HSE perspective, like from the data analyst perspective. Again, we provide HSE digital transformation service where we remove all the paperwork in your management system, creating an end-to-end solution from data entry all the way to data analytics using Power BI. We also provide workplace health and safety training, so we support organizations with their training matrix, and if you are looking to train on a wide range of topics, we can actually support you on all of that. Again, we support in ISO certification readiness, so we develop your management system, we help you with the implementation, we help you with the analytics and everything, all the records that you have to generate to ensure that you do all of that and prepare yourself for certification. Now, one thing you want to be very particular about is our data academy, and this is the one that we have allocated 10 good days, right? 10 days within 2 weeks to exhaust all the topics within Microsoft Excel and HS Data Analytics. So we have a one-on-one session, and that is training on demand. You schedule the time whenever you're available. Once you connect, we jump on a call, allocate 2 hours, and then we smash it. And then we have the group that is based on a group class, right? So the group class, you want to be part of our community to get a regular update on when the next class comes off. So that's it, guys. We're going to jump into our, dashboards. We're going to do this over here, but the first thing we need to know is that every dashboard needs a wireframe, right? Now, whenever you are creating a wireframe, and for those of you who are quite new, wireframe is the visual layout of the dashboard, and that tells us where we are placing the KPIs and the various visuals, where the navigation pane is going to be, where the slices are going to be, and all of that. Okay, now this is something you do after you are done creating all your charts, because usually when you are creating the dashboard, you probably don't even know the number of charts that you're going to create. But as you are done, then now you can sort of design your layout, which is more like the foundation of the dashboard. So we already know the number of charts that we're going to create, right? We know that it's a total of about 1, 2, 3, 4, 3 here, that makes it 7, and then 3 more. So it's a total of 10 charts and all of these stuff. So we are simply going to replicate this wireframe without wasting time. So whenever you are creating wireframe, it's just shapes that you bring together to create a wireframe. So let me just undo and then create a new PowerPoint slide. Okay, I'll remove all of this. And then what is at the back? So that is the first layer. The first layer is simply a rectangle. So we go to the insert tab and then we just draw a rectangle right in there. And that's it. And then the other one is a rounded rectangle. So we go to the insert tab. Okay, we go to shape and we bring in the rounded rectangle. So we draw it nicely there. We can then reduce the corners a little bit and then we sort of align it properly just as we want. So we want it like this. We're going to replicate it like that. Okay, so that's just for this one. And then we would also create additional rounded rectangles. We just go in there, insert a shape, which is a rounded rectangle. So the first one is going to be for, the first card. Okay, so maybe it's this size, Control C, Control V. And then the other one is going to be for the other card. All right, so this one, maybe reduce it a little bit. Bring those down closer. That's similar to what we have in there. And then we have another rounded rectangle. So this one is going to be for the navigation pane. Okay, so we just resize it nicely. And then with this one, the rounded corner is a bit sharp, so we do that. And then we create all the other layouts. Okay, so I think it's a total of 10. So we will have to take our time and resize them nicely and make sure that there's enough space for all of them, because the beauty of the layout is to make sure that there's enough white space around it, or there should be enough space around it, and it should accommodate all the visuals. So as you can see, we are literally not fitting into the slide, so we need to reduce the size a little bit. We bring them closer like this, and then we do the same thing for this. Now, in cases where there's so much space around, we can always resize. So we can actually group this one, group this. We would ungroup later on, group this one as well. And then you can actually distribute horizontally, right? We distribute horizontally, and then we would ungroup all of them. Okay, so basically we are going to replicate all of these colors. So this is the first color. I could use a paintbrush. We already have the colors, you know, in our project, so we don't have to stress too much. This is actually the color at the back as well. We do that, and then this is the background for the second layer. We do that. That's a gradient fill, okay, and then we would, this one also is basically, you know, it has a shadow in there, and then the rest are like white, you know, background. Okay, so we can then apply it on all of them, and there we have it. So that's how simple it is to create a layout, okay, a wireframe. So you could just resize them nicely so that they all fit on the screen. But because we already have it here, I mean, this one in the middle is actually a straight one like this, right? So that's what it is, and then we just export it. So I already have the wireframe, so there's no need to create a new one. And I come to save as. Okay, so I go to browse, and then I go to, basically I change the file type. The file type is supposed to be scalable vector graphic, and then I will choose the file name. We already have the file name, so I'll just save, you know, as SVG. So this is just one file. So what I do is that I come here, then I go to the visual pane, the canvas setting. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose a custom, you know, size. So the size is going to be 1080 by 1920. So 1080 by 1920. So that makes the layout much bigger. And then we go to canvas background, and then I would insert the wireframe. So the wireframe is this one, which is our background, and I would fit to the, you know, to the back. I'll stretch it. Okay, I need to stretch it so that it fills the entire space. Okay, so that's pretty much what it is. We've been able to insert our wireframe. We already know the number of visuals that we're going to create. So now what we're going to do next is that we are going to get data. Okay, and that's the most important thing we need to be doing. So we go to get data, because I'm trying to jump step a little bit, and then we go to our project folder. This is our data set. We load it into the query editor, so it's going to pop up, and then we're going to have to transform the data. Okay, so we select the data set, and that's the raw data, and then we click on transform. Okay, so this is basically the query editor. So what we are supposed to do is to just verify the accuracy of all the data types. Each column should be accurate. We are using the column quality and the column distribution basically to verify, because the goal is that we want to have 100% valid. There should be no blank. So this one, we have some blank at the bottom. As you can see, we have some blank at the bottom. So what we do is that we need to remove the blank. So we just click and remove the blank or the null. Okay, so that's sort of reduced to the exact point where we have records. And then what we're going to do next is that we're going to add a custom column, because this is something we've already done in our Excel version that we did. We needed to create the days due, because we already have the days to close action, but we noticed this one was wrong. So what we're supposed to do next is that we go to custom column, and then we're going to deduct dates reported from date action was closed. So date action close date minus date reported. Now this is basic mathematics in the sense that days due is just a difference between 2 days. I mean, number of days used to close action is just a difference between 2 days. So 2 dates. So that's pretty much what we are doing here. So date reported. Okay, so we insert it in there. Okay, and then we'll simply create a new column. We change the data type to whole number. We drag it all the way here just to compare and see why we are trying to do what we are doing, because the days between date action was closed and date reported is giving us 11, but that is actually wrong. It's 3 like that. So we're going to copy this column header. We like it. We're going to remove the column, and then we would paste the column header in there. So this is the one that we are interested in. Okay, so the dates are all correct in the date format, and that is pretty much it. Okay, so I'm just going to go to the home, and then close and apply. Okay, so this is just going to load into our Power BI report view. So there's a report view, and there's the data pane. So it's going to load right in here, and then we can start to do our analysis. But the thing that we didn't do, which we have to do, is the fact that we need to rename our table. So the table is called source data, so that we're going to be referencing this in our calculation. So if I want to verify that this is the name that is also in the query, I just go to transform, and that's it there. As you can see, that has changed. All right, so we close and apply. Now the next thing we're going to do is to create our calendar table, because we're going to be filtering the reports by month and year. So we'll be doing some time intelligence analysis in this data because we're going to be doing previous years and all of that. So we will then have to create our calendar table. Now when it comes to creating calendar table, there's no point starting from scratch. There's already a measure that we use for that, and we've already pasted that measure in our community. So this is actually our community. If you click here, you see that we have our Power BI, topic, which is like a section of the group, and we have the calendar table right in here. So I'll just copy the calendar table, and then I come into our modeling. So we go to new table, and this is where we can create a table using DAX measure. So we just paste it in there. So what we are trying to do is that we are creating a calendar table, and we are saying add columns. So this is going to create add column, or it's going to add columns. And as it's adding the column, we have the calendar auto. Calendar auto helps us to create a date column, right? And we are saying that we need the add column, we need the year, the month number, the quarter, and the year month. And then this is the format of the value. So the year will be based on the date. You should convert it to year, format the date in this month manner, right? So it's just 3 characters for month. Month number is month function of the date, and it's going to give us the month number. Quarter is the quarter, and the format the date with this quarter. So the quarter text is going to be by it, and then the year month also is going to be based on this format. So that's pretty much it. We hit enter, and then this is now a calendar table. Now take note, this is the report view, this is the table view. So within the table view, we can see the calendar table. So that is right here. We have the date, which is based on the calendar auto. We have the other columns that we added, which is the year, month number, quarter, and year, month, and we give the formats for the values. Okay, so that's pretty much it. So we head on to the model view, and then within the model view, we need to establish the relationship. So how do we establish relationship? We simply look at the common relationship, the relationship between the two. This is a calendar date table, which is basically our date, which we're going to be using to slice the report. And for that reason, that is our dimension table. And this is the fact table, which is the main data set. Okay, so the date reported is somewhere here. This one, so we're going to drag this. Okay, we're going to drag this over date reported, and that is going to pop up this relationship box. So we're going to verify calendar dates, calendar table. We want the dates. Source data, we want the date reported. The relationship is one to many, as you can see. So that's pretty much what it is. And this is how we know that it's one to many. There's the one here, the direction is going this way, and then the many is here. So one to many. So after we are done, what we're going to do next is that we're going to create the dates hierarchy. So we don't want dates just showing in the reports view anyhow. We want to create a hierarchy of it. So the reason why I'm saying that is that when you come to the dates, calendar dates, you see they're all mixed up. Date is here, month number. We don't need everything. So we come to the model view, and then we right click on the date and create a hierarchy. So there's the hierarchy of the date using the dates, right? So we simply add the month to the hierarchy, the quarter to the hierarchy, and then the year, this one, to the hierarchy. And then what we're going to do next is that we're going to hide the rest. So let's just wait for it to load. Okay, so we just click on this to hide from view, because then it wouldn't show in the report view. We hide this one, we hide, this one as well. We hide this, and we hide this. We hide this also, leaving the date hierarchy. The date hierarchy, we leave it. Okay, so when we go to the report view, you see now it's organized properly as a date hierarchy. So we have the date, the month, the quarter, and the year. That is very, very important. So now we've been able to establish the relationship. We already have our wireframe at the background, which is very, very fantastic. So what we're going to do next is that we are going to be creating our measures. So the measures are based on the questions that we're trying to answer. Okay, so before we start creating measure, we quickly go to home and we create a new table. So we need to organize our measures nicely, because we're going to be creating a lot of related measures that are almost similar, but we need to distinguish between all of them by keeping them within separate tables. So this is where we create a table. We go to enter data. Okay, and then we come here and see calculation. So our first calculation will be trying to calculate all the KPIs that are relevant. So we're going to call this KPIs. Okay, and we're going to load that. So as you can see, it's going to pop up right in the data pane right here. Okay, and then we start to create our calculation. So the first calculation we're going to be creating, okay, we go into our the project, which is this one. Okay, and then we are going to calculate What is the total near miss? The year-on-year change. What is the average risk score? The year-on-year change. What is the average days used to close actions? The year-on-year change. And that is it. And then all of these other ones are going to be visual. So we have just 3 KPIs that we'll be creating. So let's quickly get into it. So we come here, we right click and go to new measure, and then we're going to calculate total near miss. Okay, now the thing is that in our data set, okay, what you notice is that we have unique entries from the first to the last, and there are a total of 200. And this 200 simply tells us if you count the number of rows in this data set, then we can say that is the number of incidents that we recorded. So the very common function we use is count rows. Okay, so once we count the row of what? The source data. The source data is a table, and we hit enter. So that is it right there. How do we know we are counting rows? We go to visual, and then we will select any card. Let's choose a card like this, and we put it in there. Okay, so that is 200. Okay, let's change it to table because we're gonna be creating additional ones. So that is 200 right there. Now what else are we gonna do? We're gonna do the previous year. Okay, so we'll simply delete this column that pops up every time you create a table. So we don't need that. We already have, you know, a value in there, a measure in there. So we just continue, create a new measure, and now we do the previous year near miss. Okay, so we call it PY near miss, and that is simply now based on another function, which is calculate. So we're going to calculate the total near miss that we've already calculated. So then this becomes an explicit measure. An explicit measure is a measure that you can use in other measures. So that is why we are using total near miss. Okay, and then what do we want? We want same period last year. And how do we know that? What do we use to determine the last year? So as you see, the syntax, it tells us we are supposed to refer to the dates, right? Now, what dates are we using? We are using the calendar table, and we are identifying the date, and that is this one, the date column. Okay, we hit OK, and then we bring it right in there. Okay, so the total near miss, the previous year's near miss. Okay, now once you bring in a slicer for filtering, for example, we bring in a filter. So let's bring in this filter. Okay, a button filter. Oh, let's undo. We need to click outside, and then we can click on a new measure, or else it's going to convert that into a filter. Okay, and we go to our calendar and we choose the year. So whenever you click, okay, so you choose the year. So once you click on 2025, you can see that the current year, which is 2025, is 90, and the previous year is 110, and that's what it is. Okay, so what we are going to do next is that we're going to find the change. All right, so we quickly create a new measure, and we see year on year percentage change, percentage for near miss is equal to, then we're going to use the divide function where we see the numerator, which is the total year minus the previous year divided by the previous year. Then this one will give us a percentage. So we need to convert this to a percentage with 0 decimal. Okay, and there we have it. So we're gonna check it to see how it looks like. Okay, so there we have it. There's a difference of 18% if you click on 2025, and if you click on 2026, then of course there's no current year for that. Okay, so basically we are using 2025 to where there's a data point for 2024, and we are comparing it for 2025. So that's pretty much what it is here. Okay, we do the same thing for average risk score. So the average risk score, we quickly do that average risk score, and that is simply average of source data. Now there's a column for risk score. Okay, and that column is basically called risk score, and it has numerical values. And that's why we're using average. So that's very simple. We want it in percent, in decimal, because average will give you a decimal. I want 1 decimal place. So this one is for the first KPI. We're going to create a copy of this just so we can see. We'll remove these other ones that are in there, and then we start with the average risk score. Okay, and then that's like 10.0. okay, and then we simply create a new one, and this will be previous year PY average risk score. That's previous year. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're going to use an equal sign, and then we're going to use calculate average risk score same period last year. And this one is telling us we need to reference the date. So the date is in the calendar tables. Okay, and then we close parentheses, and then we will bring it in the previous year average. So that's it right there. It's supposed to be a decimal, and then remove it to one decimal place, and then we do the year on year change. So year on year percentage of average risk score, and that simply divide the numerator, which is average risk score, minus previous year's risk score, divided by the denominator, which is previous year's risk score. And that's it. And this one is simply going to be a percentage, and we don't want any decimal place. Okay, so once we check that, we check year on year for average, then that is there as 4%. Okay, now that's the second KPI. Now we go on to the third KPI, and that is average days closure date. So average closure days, and that is simply average of the column that has the value, right? Because of average function. And then we reference the source data looking for the days that we use to close the action. So that's days action close here, days to close action. And then we'll hit enter. Okay, so that is basically how we create the measure. We'll delete the old one from this table visual, and then we'll bring in the average average days closure days. We bring it in there, and then we'll create. So that's supposed to be a decimal. Okay, so let me just do that right away. It's supposed to be a decimal with only one decimal place. And then we create a new measure, and that's the previous year average. So previous year average closure days is equal to calculate. And then we bring in the average closure days that we use. Same period last year, referencing the calendar table, because we need to reference the column, the date column, right? And then we hit OK. So that is the previous year. We want it in decimal as well. So this is decimal, and then we would, sort of put it at one decimal place. So this one is supposed to be one decimal place, and this one also one decimal place, right? And then we simply do a year on year change. So percentage, year on year percentage of average closure days is equal to, we use the divide function, and that is like the average closure days minus previous year closure days divided by previous year's closure days, and that is going to be a percentage. So we quickly do that and remove the decimal places. Okay, and then we check it. So basically we have this one, we have the previous year, and we have the year on year change, right? And there we have it. So there we have it. This one, the percentage should be no decimal place, just the full percentage. So that's pretty much what it is. So we've been able to create our KPI. So I'm just going to delete these because we're just using it to check. All right. And then we click on. All right. So we bring in our, KPI card. So we're going to use the new KPI card. Okay. That's this one. So we bring it right in there, and this one is going to be for our total. So let's bring in our total near miss. So this one is the total near miss. Okay, let me remove this filter. So that's this one. And then I'll replicate it and also bring it here, and this one will be our average risk score. Control C, Control V, and this one is going to be our average closure days. Okay, so that's pretty much it. We're just going to resize it nicely. It's going to be here. This one also resize it. Same with this one. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is that the year and you've already done that, so we later on format these cards so that they look nice with all the labels in there. So the next thing we're going to do is that we're going to create all our visuals. Okay, so the visuals we're going to create, we already have them here. We want types of, near misses, how many near misses were recorded at various work areas, and all of that, near misses reported by employees. So we're going to do all of that. We already know them. If you check from here, we already know them, right? So we don't want to waste too much time. So all right, so we're going to bring in all our visuals. Okay, so we already know them. So what we're going to do is that we'll select the bar chart, because majority of them are bar charts, and then the rest are like, donut charts and then column charts and all of that in pie chart. So we click on the bar charts. So this one is going to be for the underlining cost, and that is based on the total near miss. So the total near miss will then be applied to the the immediate causes. So the first one is immediate causes. So there we have it. Then I would simply copy and create another copy, paste it here, and this one will be for underlining causes. Control C, Control V. This one is going to be for incident types. So I'll uncheck this and I'll look for near miss. So near miss types. Control C, Control V. This one will be for reported by. So uncheck this and we'll look for reported by. Okay, yes, I think that was it. Let's have a look. Let's check from the other one. Yes, so reported by. Okay, and then we Control C, Control V. This one is going to be a column chart. So here it will be, we uncheck reported by, and this one will be work area. So area stroke workstation. Okay, Control C, Control V. This one is going to be potential. Let's check again. That's job role and risk category. So we simply select job role, Control C, Control V, and this one is going to be for risk category. And there we have it. And then we would Control C, Control V, bring it here. We change the chart type to do not chart. We uncheck work area, and the first one is going to be potential severity. So that's this one. Control C, Control V. So these ones are going to be pie charts, right? And then we uncheck this and it's going to be like shift. So this one is shift. And then the last one is action status. Okay. So we uncheck this. We select action status and then uncheck the shift. So there we have it. We brought in all our visuals. Things are beginning to take shape, as we can see. But the thing that we need to be aware is that we don't have 2026. We don't have 2026 data. And when we inserted a calendar table, it included 2026 because calendar table is automatic. It looks at the starting date of data within the data model, right? Or within our fact table, the starting date, and it runs all the way to the last date. And then it includes today, which is 20th of January 2026, and it goes all the way to the end of the year. So if you go into the table view and then we come here to the calendar table, you notice that it goes all the way down, all the way to 31st December 2026. Okay, so we don't want 31st December 2026 showing in our visual, or we don't want 2026 showing. So what we're going to do is that we need to apply a filter. So this filter is used to remove any parameter from either the visual, the page, or all pages. So if you look here, we have filters on this visual, filters on this page, and filters on all pages. We want to apply filter on this page. Okay, so we need to drag the year in here. So we're going to add a field, and the field is going to be the year. So we're going to add a year here, and then we are going to filter, basic filter, and we're going to check only 2024 and 2025 and exclude 2026. So what it means is that we would have only 2024 and 5 filtering our reports, and that's it. Okay, so we can hide this one. So what we are going to do next is that we're going to clean up these visuals. Okay, we're going to clean all of them up, and then we start to apply our formatting. So the formatting will be conditional formatting, which we use to change all the colors. So what we're going to do first is that we click on the visual, we come to the visualization pane. Over here we have the year, sorry, the y-axis and then the x-axis. Okay, so we don't need a title for the y-axis. The font for the values, you want the much darker color. Regarding the x-axis also, we don't need the title, we also don't need the values. And then we need to bring data label. So bring the data label. The color for the data label, the values are going to be much darker. Okay, and then we come to general and go to title, and then title, remove the types, all those other stuff. You just want immediate course. And then we will change the font to SHEQXEL UI bold. Okay, and the color to change it later on. Maybe I should just change it right away because okay, we've not started working with colors yet, so let's just leave it like that. So once I have this, I can simply copy and paste on this one, copy and paste on this one, and copy and paste onto this one as well. Another thing we're supposed to do is that we need to remove the background. Okay, so under general as well. So let me just do that right away. When you come to effect, which is this one, you can remove the background. Okay, so we do that for all of them. You click here, remove the background, click here, remove the background, click here, remove the background. Now the reason why removing background is important because when you size it like this, we don't want to see any white background showing. So we want to remove it so that when we are sizing it's very, very clean. So we've already worked with sort of clean up this one. And then this very one also, we want to clean up. Okay, so we don't need the legends. The legends, we don't need them. So I'll just go to same visual. So you come to the visualization pane, format your visual. You come here, remove the legend. And then the label, we want to see the category in there. So category, the percentage in there. Okay, over here also, we don't need a legend. And then the labels, we need one category with a percentage. Over here, we don't need a legend. We want categories with a percentage. That's it. Okay. Now we have to remove the background ourselves. So come to effect, we go to background. It's already active. So we just, click on it. So all these things are available. Usually you can actually expand or collapse so that you can see clearly. That's how it looks like. But because I've already expanded a lot of them, so it's sort of, it can be a bit confusing. Over here also, we come to the format. We go to y-axis. We don't need the title for the y-axis. Okay, and then the font should be a darker font, and then the x-axis, sorry, the y-axis, we don't need a title, and then we need the values. We don't need the values as well. So keep it like this because we're going to bring data label. So the data label is there. Yes, and then regarding the data label also, we need to change the color of the font, the values. We change it to darker, and there we have it. Okay, so the title, we go to the title, remove total names by, remove all those stuff, just the area and workstation, and then we come to the format to use SHEQXEL bold. So we are literally supposed to apply that to all of this as well. So we quickly do that to the donut chart and then the pie chart. So we'll do for this one also. Remove all of this, and then we go to SHEQXEL bold, and then we would sort of change the font and everything. We can apply the formatting to this, and then we would just remove those other stuff. Okay, so that's it with this one. And this one we can, once you have already removed the background, okay, so effect, background, remove it. We can now apply this to this, apply this to that. Okay, so we then have to resize it nicely. So we need to resize it. Okay, and then in terms of the size of the bars and the columns, we need to work on them. So what we are going to do is that we go to the layout, spacing, and try to space them out nicely. So that's pretty much what it is. As we are seeing, it's beginning to look clean. This one, we remove the total by, it's not necessary. We go to edit and then we remove this one. We come here and then we remove this one also. So it looks clean. The most important, we need to keep things clean. Now I'm seeing border, or okay, there's no border around. That's fine. Okay, so what I'm going to do next is that I'm going to now bring in the colors for our, the conditional formatting, which will give us the colors that we need for our visuals. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new table. All right, but before we bring in all those colors, we have to remove these titles as well. I think I forgot, so let me do that quickly. Let me remove these titles. I mean, they're all non-relevant. You want to keep it clean, so I'll do that right away. Okay, now the next thing I'm going to do is that I'm going to bring in those measures that we use for conditional formatting. So to do that, we come to Home tab, we come to Enter Data, which is another way of creating a new table and structuring it nicely in our data pane. So we call it calculation. And that will be first and foremost the minimum and then the maximum values, right? So we're going to do max min. Before we do the highlight, we need to create the measures for max min, and we're going to use the max min to do the highlight, which is more like conditional formatting, which would be like a text value that we would apply to the visual. All right, so step by step, let's create the minimum and maximum values first. Okay, so regarding minimum and maximum value, when it comes to creating minimum or max value, we use the max function. Okay, so max basically looks at the values in the column and finds the maximum value of it. So let's just bring in a card. So this is a card. Okay, and let's create the first, trying to understand how to apply the max function. So let's say that we call it max. Okay, and so we want the max of source data. I mean, a particular column, and that column is let's say action closure days, right? Or yes, action closure days. So this is the max. Okay, so this gives us the max, and that max should be a value. Okay, max of action closure days, not dates. We call it days to close action, right? Days to close action. Yes. Okay, so that's giving us a value of 14, which is the max. And how do we come about this max? I mean, this is just for illustration how we calculate max when we have a column that has numbers. Okay, that's a simple mathematics or arithmetic function. Okay, when we create a table of this and we bring in the calendar date, like let's see the date itself, and we look in there, we could see that 14 is the maximum. 14 somewhere there, 14 is here. It has a maximum. That's how it has a maximum down here. Okay, and that is giving us this value. But when it comes to the fact that we don't have this total near miss, it's not based on a simple values number column. A column is not based on this count rows. We counted the number of rows in the column. So we cannot do that kind of max on a row. And again, we will be tempted to use max x. Max x is based on an expression. Okay, so when you try to use max x, it is based on an expression, which is max it is based on an expression which has to do with like the table, which is like the source data table, the column that has the value. Okay, that the column that has a particular value, let's say days to close action, and we will probably use maybe total near miss. Like we want to find total near miss. I don't know, it wouldn't work. Like if assuming we are referring to like immediate causes, let's say immediate causes column, and then we are trying to find the max based on the total near miss that was applied to, it wouldn't work. It wouldn't work. You get it? So we need to rather summarize this table, this table again, or this sort of put it in a table, and then we can count rows again, which will look like total near miss, because total near miss was based on count rows, right? So what do? We're going to use a summarize function. Okay, so we call it, let's say, max of near miss. Okay, so I'll show why we are using the summarize function. So max of near miss is equal to summarize, and the summarize, we are trying to summarize this thing. If assuming this was a table, I'll show you if I convert this to a table how it looks like. So the summarize, we're summarizing the source data, and then we want which column. The column in the source data is actually immediate causes. Okay, and then what do we want? We want to create a new column called max. And what do we do with that column? We want count rows. Now, what is count rows? Count rows is what we use to estimate the total near miss. Okay, so that's pretty much what it is with the summarize, right? Trying to use the count rows, which is total near miss, in another way of presenting this so that we can do calculation. But the thing is that summarize does not produce a scalar value or a single value. It produces a table. So how do we know there's a table? I mean, in order to see that there's a table, we need to sort of copy this, Control C, and then I'll just come to model view, create a new table. This is just for illustration how this is a table. I'll just call the table summarize so that we can see properly. I'll paste the same function in there. I'll hit enter. Now this is a table. If I come to table view, that is how it looks like. This is a table, immediate cause with a max, and that max, these values is simply count rows, and that's the same as this. The same as this. If this was a table, Control C, Control V. If this was a table, okay, let me delete this one. If this was a table, like I hit the table, okay, you can see it's exactly the same thing. Okay, it's exactly the same thing. On safe act, on even flooring, a total of 90. If I come to the summarize and I come to table view, it's the same thing. Okay, so improper stacking, all these are there. Improper stacking is 21. Let's go and look. Okay, let me remove everything. Okay, and let's try to make it much bigger. Improper stacking is somewhere. Improper stacking is 21. So this one is arranging it in a different way. Okay, so we have damage insulation. If you come to summarize and we come to table view, you see damage insulation, that's 18, right? Damage insulation is 18. The same thing, damage insulation 18. So literally we've tried to represent this in a form of a table, which is a summarize function, right? And what we're going to do is that we're going to now use max x to reference the entire table that we've created with a summarize function, and we want max x of the column, which is max. This is the column. We close it. So this one gives us a scalar value, but so when we bring this in here, you'll notice that it's gonna give us a certain value, right? So 18. So it's giving us the max, all right, which is 25, but unfortunately it's not repeating it here for us to use it for conditional formatting. Okay, so what we need to do is that we need to now remove the filter context and apply this 25 across all the rows. So what do we do? We then use calculate. We say calculate. Calculate is used to apply a filter context to whatever you're doing. So calculate this whole sort of measure or expression, but we want all selected values of the source data. So every time we select, it should give us 25. So that is what we have in there. So the 25, which is the max, can now be applied to all the rows because we want all selected, everything. So we should apply it to everything that we see in the row. So that is pretty much it. So we're gonna now use this to do conditional formatting, where if this is 18, if this is equal to this, bring me this. If not, give me blank. Okay, I can do that for you guys to see, but we're not gonna be creating that yet. Okay, so we can then bring it. Let's say I would then move it to another calculation. Okay, or let me just bring in that set of calculation, because conditional formatting will have its own grouping. So okay, let me just show how it will look like. Okay, for just for purpose of tutorial. Okay, so let me just create a new measure, and we see that max highlight, right? The highlight, max highlight to be, we're gonna see if total near miss is equal to max of near miss, return max of near miss, return max of near miss. If not, return blank. Okay, so this now becomes a highlight, and as you can see, once you click on it, you notice that now the 5 is being shown here, the 25 is shown in a sense. So we can actually remove the highlight, and now we have just this. So all the marks will now show here, and this one is going to be used in our visual like as the maximum value, because we give it a unique color, and instead of a color we can choose to give it, instead of a value, you can choose to give it a hex code, which is the color code, right? So that's pretty much what you're going to be doing. But before that, let me just delete this because you don't need it yet. I'll be creating a separate group of calculations for that. So let me just remove this. Okay, so we've created our max value. Now this max value, we're going to use it for all the visuals, and for that reason we need to move very fast. So I'm going to select this, Control A, Control C, and I'm going to be doing the max for everything. So we're now going to do max for underlining courses. So max of so this one is, the first one is max of immediate causes. So let me just correct it. Max of immediate causes. Okay, and then this one is max of underlining, wait, max of immediate cause, and this one will be max for underlining cause. So I'll just remove this one. And then I'll only have to change this from immediate to underlining. Okay, then I hit enter, and then I'll simply copy this, Control C, then I would come here, new measure, and then I'll create max of, so immediate cause, max of near miss types, right? Max of near miss types, and I'm going to be looking at near miss type. Control A, Control C, I hit enter, and then I move on to reported by. And then we're gonna use this one, which is reported by, right? I'll just copy everything. I'll hit enter so that to load, and then I'll create another one. I've already copied this. I'm gonna move on to works area or workstation. So we quickly paste near max of area. Let's just say area, and then I'll just change the column to area over here, and then I'll basically paste it in there, and I'll move on to job role. Okay, so the beauty of explicit measure is just the fact that you can use it together. I mean, you can use it many times by just changing the relevant columns, and that's it. So this one is job role. Okay, so this is job role. So max of job role. And it is always important that you type the full names so that you can remember, just in case you have to come back and understand how you created a measure. If you use any acronym or whatever, sometimes you forget. So move on to risk category. Okay, max of risk category. Okay, risk category. And there we have it. Okay, so we paste it in there. So we are done with the max. Now move on to min. So when it comes to min, also the same thing. Min, we're going to be using min x. So instead of max x, we're using min x. And then we'll change this to min because now we are dealing with min. So the column is going to be min, and here is equally going to be min. And then that's it. So we sort of hit enter, and now we are dealing with main. So we quickly continue to the rest. So we're gonna continue from immediate. So main of immediate causes. So main of, so we don't have to change, we only have to change the column, right? Immediate causes, Control A, Control C. We paste this one in there, we move on to underlining. So this one, I was supposed to actually remove the title. I forgot again for this one. Let me just do that now. Okay. Yeah, so main of immediate cause, we paste it in there. Sorry, underlining cause, we already done the immediate. Underlining causes, and then we change the column, which is underlining. Okay. Now, whenever you are typing these things, you can move fast by simply hitting the tab key. Okay, near max type. So main of near max type. Sorry, I think I was still mentioning max. Main of near max type. And we simply change the column to main. To near max type. And then we hit enter, and then we report it by main of reported by. And then we simply change it here. Reported by. Okay. And then we get to this side, which is work area. Main of work area. So we just change it here. We paste enter, main of job role. So we are almost done. Job role and risk category. So job role. And then risk category. So we'll do that once you're done. Job role. And then the last one is risk category. Okay, so we are done. What did I do? Already exists. Risk category. Oh, I've already done risk category. I think that's what we started first, right? So I'll just delete this. So we are literally done. Okay, so what we are going to do now is to bring in our highlights, and the highlights is also based on a DAX measure. So we're going to group them nicely. So we're going to enter another table, and we call it calculation for calculations. We call it highlights or conditional formats. Conditional comma, that's calculations CF. Okay, and then we just load it. Okay, calculation CF conditional format. So there we have it right in there. And then this conditional formatting, instead of just saying if this is equal to this, give me that, or else give me this, we're going to use switch function. Okay, so we're going to do, and the switch function allows us to use two or more if functions. And for that reason, not have to really use if. We're going to use switch, and then we do the logic. Okay, so we're going to start with the immediate cause. So we call it immediate cause CF or highlight, or however you want to call it. And then we're going to use switch function, and switch function is based on a true or false argument, and we would see that total nearness is equal to the max, right? Is equal to max of, we already calculate max, right? So max of immediate cause. Then give me a hex code, right? So the hex codes or the colors that we are going to use, we already have it here. So we're going to use the deep purple for the max. So I'm going to copy it. Okay, and then I'll paste it in a quotation mark. Okay, and I'm saying that We continue with the argument, which is total nearness is equal to min. Okay, min of immediate cost. Give me the minimum, which is the lightest color, which is this one. Okay, so we put it in a quotation mark. If not, that is the alternative, right? The rest, if not, give me the mid color, the medium, the one in the mid, right? So however you want to call it, the one in the medium or in the middle. So that's it. Okay, so I'll hit enter, and we didn't use blank, we used a hash code, and for that reason we're getting a text value. So how do we apply it? We simply click on this bar chart, we come to format, we come to the bar, and the colors, that the color, you can actually use a function or a measure. So we click on it, we go to field value, we go to where our coordinational formatting, and that's the essence of grouping. So as we group all our measures, you can see them right here. So this is where we have it, and there we have it. Okay, we click OK, and that's gonna give us a color. Okay, so that means it's working. Okay, so we're gonna move very fast once again, applying this to all the rest of the measures. Okay, so we quickly select this, we select everything, Control C, and we come here, new measure, we paste it in there, and this time is underlining cost. Underlining cost, and what we need to change is just this one, max of underlining. So the names that we use when we are creating the measures are very important, so we can always remember and use them. Min of underlining. The same, measure, we just hit enter, but we're not going to select it, or we're not going to select it. Let's finish. Okay, so we're going to do nearness type, nearness conditional format, and that's going to be total nearness equal to max of nearness type, and then here's going to be min of nearness type. So that is done. Okay, we just hit enter, and we do reported by. So nearness max of, okay, so we do reported by. I'm going to change the name. Okay, so this is reported by. This one also is reported by. Okay, and then we change the name, reported by condition format. Okay, we hit enter, and then we are now doing for workstation, job role, and risk category. So area, let's just call it area because it's too long to be typing workstation. Max of area, min of area. Even we called it work area, so it's not even consistent. I can change the name anyway. So max of area, min of work area. Okay, so that's how sometimes if you don't keep the measures consistent, you can even forget, but we know that work area is the same as area anyway. And then we do the other one, job role. So we go to new, and we click on job role. So job role, max of job role, min of job role, and then we hit enter, and then risk category, which is the last one. Risk category. So we change from here, max of risk category, min of risk category. We hit enter. So we've literally done it. Okay, so the work area, if you remember, we noticed that the other one we didn't name it properly. We called it just area and work area. So you can change that. Once you change that, it's gonna update here. I can show you. So work area, and then the other is area. Let's keep it consistent. So we're gonna remove the work and keep it as area. We hit enter. Okay, we come to area condition for my units. It has all adjusted automatically, and that's the beauty of using explicit measures. Once it changes all across. Okay, so we take our time. We come to the underlining course. We come to the format pane where the color is for the bars. We click on the conditional format sign. We choose field value. We come here. We know it is in this calculation, this group of, this table. So underlining course, we quickly select it. That's underlining course. We come to near miss. We come here. The same thing, field value. We go to conditional formatting and underlining. Sorry, near miss types. Okay, we hit okay. Over here also we click on the conditional format sign. We come to conditional formatting. That is reported by. Okay, so reported by, and that's this one. And then over here is work area, right? So we just do the same thing, field value, conditional formatting, area, and over here also is job role. So field value, conditional formatting, job role, and then here is over here conditional formatting and action category or action status. Was it action status? Risk category. Yeah, it's risk category. Yes. Is risk category, right? Risk category, that's correct. Okay, so we've literally done that. Now we just have to make sure that the same color scheme applies to this, but this time it has not registered in our color memory. We need to sort of manually put there. Once we put it, then we can apply all of them. So we already know the colors we're going to use. The colors are already here. So this is a deeper one. So I'll just copy it. I'll paste outside. I'll come here. Then I'll go to slice. I go to colors, and then where is the colors? Okay, let me just click on this and see. So this one, the colors should be available. It should be all. Why is it not allowing me to enter color? Let me hold on. Let me see. We go to format pane, and then go to slice. Come to colors. So let's start with the high. The high color, we give it the darker one. So we paste it in there, and then a medium, we give it the other color. Okay, so that's like the medium one. So the medium one is here. We paste it in there, and then the very least, the lightest color also control C, and that will be for the low. We paste it in there. Okay, so that is it right here, and then we do the same thing for this one also. So this one we need to sort of, the day is the darker one, and then the night is like the lighter one. Do the same thing for this. The close is the deeper one, the open is the lighter one. Okay, so there we have it. So we've sort of replicated it, and in fact all these text title colors were actually this one. So we just do that quickly. Okay, they were the purple one, the deeper purple one. And then also, if you remember, they were all centered in the middle. So I'll just do that as I'm going. Okay, title color. I don't have to be coming back to do them again. Okay, so this one also is centered, and then it's this font. This one also centered. This font color centered. This also, this font color, and then that has been centered. Same with this font color centered. Okay, centered font color is this, and these ones as well. Font color is this, and centered font color and centered. Okay, now we have too many data points we are not supposed to be there, especially with this one. It's very, very long, as you can see. Like, we are even having a scroll bar in there, so we don't want that. So we'll keep it to top 5. Okay, so we'll be adding top 5 to each one of them. So this one will be top 5. So what do? We bring in our filter pane, and then we're gonna filter this visual. So this visual, we have the immediate course in there. We click on it, and we change the filter type to top n, and the top n is going to be 5, top 5. But it's based on what? It's based on the nearest value. So we just look for the nearest value, which is our KPI, because we are doing it by KPI, right? So this one, we drag it here, and then we apply the filter. So that's going to reduce it to top 5. We did the same thing for this. So the nearest underlining calls, we want the top 5. So we click on top n, which is the top number. We apply the 5. And this visual is based on the nearest. It's already checked. Okay, we drag it here, we paste it, and we apply. We do the same thing for this. We are filtering the nearest types by the top 5. So we click on it, we put a 5 there, and then we drag the nearest type in there, we apply. So the nearest, total nearest, which is the count rows. Okay, so that's more like the y-axis. Okay, this one also reported by. We want to report by the top 5 people, and then we drag the total nearest, which is the y-axis. Okay, and then we apply, and then that's it. Okay, so there we have it in there, as you can see, and we have these ones also. So perfect. We are getting closer to cleaning up our visual. So the next thing we're going to do now is to create our label. So I'll create a new table. Okay, and this new table, we call it calculations for labels. And the labels also have the conditional formatting in there, because there are not so many labels, so we can keep everything together. All right, so the labels, and then we create a conditional formatting. So the first conditional format we're going to create is the label for, total nearest. Okay, so we call it previous years. Oh, where is it going? All right, so we're going to call it versus PY nearest. And that is simply saying that we're going to use a switch function also. Switch true. Then we come with an argument, and we say that year on year change for nearest should be greater than, if it's greater than 0, it should give me a symbol, which is a Unicode code, right? And the code we're going to use is 9650. So this is a unique code that we use for pulling some symbols. And we are saying that, we say that add %. Okay, and we format year on year nearest to 0%. And that's it. Okay, and then the other one, which is if year on year nearest is less than 0, give me the Unicode. The symbol will be 9660. And then we want to attach that, so % sign. And every time we want to bring a space in between, we have to sort of put in double quotation. So if there's a space that's supposed to be in between, put a space in double quotation. And then the % comes again. And then we say we want to format that value year on year nearest as %. And that's it. Okay, so we close the argument and we hit enter. So you need to close it twice, because the parentheses for the switch function. So we hit enter. This one, give me that. Okay, so that's it. Okay, so this is basically the label that we are using. We're going to create a new label also for the average risk score. So we paste it in there, and then now it's going to be previous year average risk score, and then it's gonna be year on year average risk score. If it's greater than 0, UNICA, and then n%. Bringing in a space, we can always reduce, bringing a space between the two, and then the format, the year on the average risk score as this, and then the same thing with this also. So average risk score, UNICA, this average risk score. So there we have it. Control C, control, just paste it, and then we're gonna use the same label also for average closure days. And with this also, we need to change this from year on year average. We're using closure days. This one also average closure days, and then here is basically the UNICA n%, which is like to attach these two text values right together, and this one must be in the format that will give you the percentage. So average closure days over here, also average closure days, and there we have it. We hit enter. We can delete this column. Okay, yeah, so these are the labels. So basically we are back on track. I'll just Control C, paste it here, and then I would sort of resize it nicely. Control C, paste it there, I'll resize it nicely. And then, you know, this one will be for average risk score. This one will be for average closure days. Okay, now this font color, I'll change it. Okay, so that's like visual. You go to the callout value. The callout value, you go to the value section, you go to the font, you change it to the lighter one, and this one could be Segway UI bold. Okay, the font will be probably maybe 28. It has to be much bigger, so let's say 40. Okay, and then the label. The label is equally going to be this, and that will be it. Okay, and then what we are going to do next is the fact that we're going to bring in the label. So the reference label. We're going to drag the previous year label in the previous year nearness label. We drop it in there, and that is it. We need to also remove the background. So the background reference label layout, the background, remove it. Okay, and then the value there too, we change it to the same color. So for the value, it will be based on conditional formatting, so we'll change that later on. But the title, we change it to this. Okay, the previous year. All right, and then we will also bring in, but then why is the UNICA not working? UNICA is supposed to be there. Previous year nearness. Oh, that's based on the label. I forgot. Let me change that quickly. Reference label. Reference label is not this one. It is previous year nearness. So this one. Okay, there we have it. Okay, and then I'll do for this one as well, previous year label. So previous year risk score, I'll drop it here, and then this one also previous year action closure rate, I drop it here. We don't need the background. Layout, we don't need a background for this. Also, we don't need a background for this. We don't need any division or anything. Okay, so that is what we have here. I'll bring in an accent bar. So we go to the visual, the card, and then accent bar. We bring an accent bar in here, and we want it on the right side. So we bring it to the right. We change the color to this. We increase the font to the size to maybe 5. Okay, that's okay. So this one, we need to size a little bit. We need to expand it. It has to be equal dimensions. Let's try to make it equal. Okay, so this one will be here a little bit. This one can come over here a little bit. Okay, so that's what it is. This one also, you can go back a little bit. Okay, so that's what it is right now. If I select this, it gives a certain value. So select this, it gives a previous year. So previous year's risk score. If I go and check the calculation for the KPIs, previous year risk score, the year-on-year change, right? The year-on-year change. Let's put a card there and see what it is. So the year-on-year risk score change is supposed to be 4%. Once you select this, okay, so it's not displaying. So the label, there's problem with it. Previous year risk score. So I have to check properly. So year-on-year average risk score. If it's greater than this, give me this format, year-on-year average risk score. Format it as N%. If it's less than this, give me that. Format it year-on-year average risk score N% sign. Okay, that's fine. I don't know why it's not. It's giving me the 0. Is it I type O? It's supposed to be rel 0. I type O. It's supposed to be rel 0, so I have to put 0 there. This one is supposed to be rel 0. I put the 0 there. This one is supposed to be rel 0. Rel 0, not O. Exactly, I thought as much. When you're typing these things, you need to be careful what you're typing, or else you'll be typing wrong things. So it's supposed to be 0, not O. That's how come I was getting it wrong. 0, not O. So now everything is back on track. We are back. Okay, so the next I'm going to do is that I'm going to apply the formatting on it. So conditional formatting also is based on, the switch function. So we simply, sort of create a label conditional formatting. So how do I call it? Let's see here, average. Okay, let's call it PY average closure DCF. You can call it however you want to call it. And this one also is the switch function true, comma, and then we hit enter. And then what we're going to do is we're saying that if year over year average closure date, right, average closure date is greater than 0, give me green. You can type green like this. You put a comma there and go down again. If year on year closure date is less than 0, type red. Give me red text. That's it, just 2 conditions. Okay, and then we hit enter. So we'll apply it to see. That's for closure days, right? Closure days. So that's for closure days. So what we're going to do is that we go to the format reference label. Okay, the reference label. We go to the value section, conditional formatting. We click on it. Come to field setting. We come down to conditional formatting for our labels, and that's all we have in here. We click on OK, and there is it. It's working. I'm busy. I'm doing something. There is it. It's working. Okay, so we just apply it to the rest. So we simply come to nearness. I mean, we do that for nearness. So I'll just previous year our nearness SFCF near NMCF, the same thing. Okay, so we just change this average nearness, average of not average, year on year nearness, and then this one also year on year nearness. That's this one. The same, then we apply it. Okay, and then we do the same thing for risk score. Okay, so that's for average risk score. And this one also, we change it to average risk score, average risk score. We hit enter. Okay, so on the label for this one, okay, we go to the values, we go to field value, conditional formatting for label, and this one is for risk score. So there we have it. And then this one, same, we go to values, and then value field setting, labels, we click on for near miss. But the thing is that the color for the green isn't so prominent. The color for the green is not so prominent. So what we're going to do, we're going to go to HTML. We go to HTML color codes, right? We're going to choose a very deep, a very light green color. So we just come back, and then the condition formatting for near miss, we change this to this green. We change it to a hex code. This one. Oops. Let's copy it again. Control C. Then we come here and paste it in there. Okay, we bring a hex code because the hash must always be there. Okay, so that sort of makes it much brighter. Okay, so we have been able to do that. Now the next thing we need to do is the fact that we need to sort of put a increase the text. So the callout value, we change this to this one. We increase it a little bit to maybe 30 or something. Okay, so let's look at this one. What did we do? It was at the top, and this one, so we need to format it to be at the top, right? So the same thing. So instead of the value being at the bottom, if blank, put 0, fair enough. But instead of the label, the label should be at the top. So the label that is here, we need to position it at the top. That's better. Okay, we do the same thing for this one. The label should be at the top so that there's enough room. Okay, so then the callout value, which is this one, we can increase it a little bit. We can go to this color or something. Okay, that means that we need more space, so we'll try to size it nicely so that there's enough space. Okay, and then the same thing with this. The font is going to be like this. The size is going to be 35 also. 35 like that. Okay, resize it nicely. So that is it basically. And then what we did next was the fact that we brought in, okay, we can remove this. What we did next was the fact that we brought in a line chart, sorry, a column chart. So we're going to create another visual, which is column chart. And then this one, we're going to make it like the near miss, total near miss with the month data type, okay, data point. So the month will be in there, so that in this x-axis, remove the date and it's only the month. Now, unfortunately, the month is not arranged in chronological order. So what we do is that we select the calendar table. Okay, we select the calendar table, come to the table view over here. The table view with the calendar table selected. So where is the calendar table? That is this one. This month that we see here, we need to sort by month number. So we click on it. It's going to sort it nicely for us. Then now it's starting from it's supposed to be starting from January, so we do that again. It has not updated. So calendar table over here, sort by month number. So we go to sort by month number. Okay, we go to report. It doesn't want to update. Okay, for that to work, we need to bring in the dates, and then we would sort of draw up, we draw down, and now it's working. Okay, so we've been able to do that. So what we're going to do is that we're going to remove the x and y axis. So remove the values, the titles, go to the y axis, remove the value and the title, and it's now like this. Okay, we simply resize it nicely. We don't need a title also, we don't need it. We go to effect to remove the background, and now it's like this. Okay, and then we would simply change the color. So the column, we go to the label and then we change it to this one. So there we have it. Okay, we change the color. So this one, obviously the total should be at the top. So we go to the call out, we go to label, we go to value, and then we go to label, and the position at the top as well. This one should be at the top, similar to what is here. Okay, and then the font, I think is okay. Probably we need to change the font a little bit for the call out value. So maybe we should make it 45. So it's much bigger. Okay, so we have been able to replicate it nicely. The only thing we need to do next is simply to bring in some, create our slices. So the slicer, we have this bottom slicer here. We bring it in there, and then we want the month, only the month. So the month has been brought in there. We already have the year at the top. So this month, we click on it, we go to format, and then we go to the, the buttons, and we go to layout. Okay, so the bottom is already rounded. Okay, that's fine. So we go to the slicer settings, and then we go to layout. So where is layout? Layout. Slicer background. We don't need a background, so we remove the background. We go to effect also, we remove the background like this. Okay, for the bottoms, I think we need a background for the bottoms. Okay, now the bottom background, we're going to select this color, and then the accent bar will also come. We'll choose the darker color, and we increase it a little bit like this. And then the layout, we need to reduce the number of columns. So we'll have to find it. Okay, multi-bottom layout. We want only 2 columns. Okay, 2 columns. Okay, it has to be 6 columns. Okay, and then the rows has to be just 2. Okay, so there we have it. We can resize it nicely to fill the space. So that is for this one. And then we will just copy this and paste over this. And then the same multi-bottom layout, we change this to the number of columns should simply be 2. Okay. And then the rows will be like 1 row. And that's it for this one. So we resize it nicely and position it here. Okay, so that's our year slicer and then our month slicer. So this one we can bring it further down, and so when we click on this, it applies to this one. If I click on this, it applies as you expect it. Then I'm going to insert our text box. Okay, so our text box is going to be up here, and that's going to be for our title. So it's going to be incident near miss analysis dashboard. Okay, I'll select everything and then I'll increase the font size to probably 36. I'll change the font color to this, and maybe I'll bolden it a little bit like this. Then I'll go to effect. I'll click on it, go to general effect, remove the background. Okay, and then I would, just copy it again, create a copy of it, Control A. Okay, no need to do that, just insert another text box. Okay, and this one will just be like other text that we add to it. So it's gonna be right at the bottom here, and we call it a comparative analysis of near misses across the organization. Okay, so that's it. And then the same color is going to be like, this one, and the font, we maybe make it 12 or maybe 14. And then we would go to effect and remove the background. So there we have it. So you can resize this to be up a little bit like this, and this one will also be right in there, properly aligned. Okay, so that's what we've done right now, replicated this chart, and then the only thing we have to do next is basically to insert our bottom. So we have a blank bottom that we're going to use for the icons. Okay, so we resize it nicely. We make sure that there's no border around it. Okay, so we go to effect, remove, there's no background, there's no border, fair enough. The buttons also, let me click here and see, but there is a border there, so we need to remove it. So we go to style, turn off border, and there we have it. So that's what we have. So under style, we go to icons and we change it from blank to custom, and that gives us option to add an image. So we already have images, so you go to our downloads. Basically, we have the images in here. So these images, you find them in flat icons. We go to flaticons.com. You're gonna find a lot of icons to use. So Control C, Control V, paste it in here. I think we have about 4 of them here. So the last one is probably gonna be here or something, right? So I drag it here. Okay, so this one will probably be the help icon. So let's check. I think it's help, right? So there's a help, there's that, and there's that one. So I quickly do that right away. So we go to custom, we change this to the help icon, and then this one will be the this one, and then this one is going to be another icon, which is the bar charts. All right, and then we would also have another icon over here, and that is going to be the this person. Okay, this object. Okay, so that's what we've been able to do right now. So these icons are sort of just to help us navigate. If you have multiple sheets in there, we can then assign an action to it, and this action could be the fact that it is a navigation pane, and for that reason it should take us to the next page or something. You get it? So you can add actions to it. So I think the size is too small, so you can always go to properties and resize them nicely. Okay, so let me just select all of them right now. At least there's no action to it, so you can just select everything together. You go to format and we center them nicely and distribute vertically like this. Okay, so let me just select them again, and then I would drag them and align them properly to the center of the navigation pane. Okay, so that is simply just dragging it to the left side, a little bit, just like this. Or I'll probably use the arrow key to do that. Let's see if that works. Okay, it's moving a little, but that's fine. Let's just do it manually. Okay, that works fine. So this is basically replicating the dashboard once again, as you can see. So what did we miss anything? Let's go back and check. We have this, we have that, we have this, we have that, we have this, we have that, similar to this. Okay, yeah, so we've been able to repeat the dashboard once again. We can apply the filter and it's going to give us the change. Now, of course, some of them are not properly aligned. So this one is not properly aligned with this. So we want to make sure we do that. And once we do that, we see that, I mean, the markings is going to automatically detect for us and we will align them nicely. Okay, so there we have it, guys. We've been able to replicate this chart once again. Okay, so if you made it this far, congratulations. It is very simple, but you want to always make sure you are practicing so that you familiarize yourself with the function. Sometimes some things may, you may get lost at some point with trying to change something, but the more you practice, the more you're gonna, get better. So I think one thing we didn't do was the fact that we needed to increase the spacing. So we go to the bars, we go to the layout, we go to, the space that is between the layouts, right? We want to increase it to 50. So we do that quickly, and we want to help us to introduce a lot of white space around the chart so that it doesn't look too clumsy. Okay, so we do that quickly. So it's just a matter of choice anyway. If you like this one, also the spacing is, you go to the slice, you come to spacing and we increase it to, I think 70, right? Or 80. I think it's 80. There we have it. And then this one, we go to the layout and then we change it to 70. Okay, or let's say 60. Okay, 60 works. 60 is okay. Same with this one. 60, and this one also 60. Nicely. And then we try to align them nicely so that it's properly displaying well. So this one is aligned to this. This one also we can drag it a little bit so that it's aligned to that also. Yeah, so there we have it. We've been able to replicate this chart. We can always play around. Maybe the space should be a lot over here, and this one also like that, and this one can be back inside a little bit. The same with this one, it goes back a little bit just to make sure there's a lot of space around it. Yes, so there we have it. We've been able to repeat this dashboard. As you can see, we've been able to do it. Okay, yeah, so that's the beauty of it. All right, so guys, this is how we roll. If you made this far, congratulations. We've been able to repeat this chart. Yes, so something is off here. Let me just take it back. Sometimes it's like there's way too many things in the label, and that's how come it's looking like this. And then this one can go back a little. Okay, yes, so that's it, guys. I'm gonna see you guys in another video. Bye for now. Cheers.